We will be learning now the Tosfot on the top of Brachot Daf Chaf Amud Bet. Tosfot begins by quoting the Gemara. Bitfila, Pshita, Kevan dichtiv erev avoker v'tzaharai masicha ve'ehemaha ki mitzvat aseh she'azman grama havi kamash malan dirachamininu. Now you'll notice that the text that Tosfot is working with is essentially what we have. However, there are two notable differences. The first being that Tosfot includes the word pshita, and the second is that the reason of rachamininu, instead of coming all the way at the beginning, it appears all the way at the end of this Gemara. And now Tosfot begins. But again, essentially, it's the same idea which we have in our Gemara. Virashi lo garisle. Tosfot begins by saying Rashi does not recognize this text of the Gemara. Sheharei tefillah d'Rabbanan, because after all, tefillah is a mitzvah d'Rabbanan from the rabbis. Umay mitzvat aseh shaychi bey. And what type of mitzvat aseh is relevant to it? Meaning, how can we talk in terms of a mitzvah aseh she'azman grama, she'ein azman grama, by a mitzvah d'Rabbanan, in which these categories do not apply? The whole principle of mitzvat aseh she'azman grama sounds like it's a positive mitzvah from the Torah. These categories, these rules only apply to mitzvot from the Torah, and therefore they have no place in our Gemara, which is talking about tefillah, which is a mitzvah d'Rabbanan. Again, Tosfot here is following the approach that we saw Rashi here is following the approach that we learned already in the Ramban, that tefillah is a mitzvah d'Rabbanan. And therefore Rashi argues that this entire text, from the words pshita all the way to the words kamash malan, they should not appear, it's not relevant to our discussion. Continues Tosfot. Umikol makom yesh li'ashev. Nonetheless, we could resolve our text of the Gemara as we have it in our Gemara, by arguing that in fact this is a relevant rule even to mitzvot d'Rabbanan. And this is the proof that Tosfot furnishes to prove his point. Da halel d'Rabbanan. For after all, halal is a mitzvah d'Rabbanan, the mitzvah to recite halal on Yom Tov. V'nashim p'turot mehai ta'ama. And women are exempt for this very reason, the mitzvah aseh she'azman gramahu, because it is a positive mitzvah which is governed by time. And therefore, if we see that we have a mitzvah d'Rabbanan, which women are exempt for this reason, apparently this principle, this rule, does apply to mitzvot d'Rabbanan, and therefore it is relevant to be an operating factor in our Gemara as well, which talks about tefillah. Now Tosfot continues to prove this point. Where do we see that women are in fact exempt from the mitzvah of Hallel? Kedamrina b'Sukkah, as we say in the Gemara in Sukkah. This is a Mishnah on Daf Lamed Chetam and Aleph. The Mishnah writes the Mishnah says as follows: Mi shehaya eved v'isha o katan makrin oto. Someone who has a slave or a woman or a minor reading Hallel for him, oneh acharehen ma shehem omrim. So he needs to repeat after them whatever they say. Why would he have to repeat? Why can't he just listen carefully? And we would apply the principle of shomea ke'oneh, that as long as you're listening, it's as if you yourself recited it. And the reason is, and this is now Tosfot explaining the Mishnah, de'ein hashomea patur mikriyatan kevan shehem pturim. The reason why the listener is not exempt from their reading just by listening is because they are exempt, because the Eved, Isha, and Katan are exempt from reciting Hallel. And the rule is that Shomea Ke'ona only works when the one who is reciting the text is him or herself obligated in the mitzvah. The fact that the Mishnah here says that the man who hears Hallel from an Eved, Isha, or Katan must repeat every single line, so that proves to us, that shows us that women are in fact exempt from the mitzvah of Hallel. The reason, according to Tosfot, is because the mitzvah aseh she'azman grama. This is Tosfot's proof that mitzvot aseh she'azman grama, she'ein azman grama are relevant categories even by mitzvot d'Rabbanan, and therefore it's an appropriate text what we have in the Gemara.